Hello and welcome. I'm Tim and this is SV Paquita. Come along as I stumble through trying to make a transition from being a lifelong professional mariner to switching over to the recreational side, learning how to sail and hopefully one day getting ready to sail around the world. Right now, we're in the Caribbean, getting ready to come back to New England pretty soon, so strap in, come aboard, and hope you like what we have to show you here. Thanks so much for watching.
Good morning. So it's a little bit after 5. Just waking up. I thought I'd take you guys with me. So Rick and I start heading from Salinas along the south coast of Puerto Rico and start heading downwind for a change. For the last 3 days we've been coming east into the easterlies, bashing into the seas, and we're running out of time, so we're turning around and we're going to start going west again. And I thought I'd bring you with me. And that's that. So the first thing we have to do is make some coffee. Now Rick and I usually leave way before the sun rises, and that's part of the strategy of trying to sail around the south coast of Puerto Rico, is that usually, generally speaking, the wind isn't so bad in the middle of the night, and up until around 10 or 11 in the morning. So usually try to take off, and in the case of sailing east, you're going against the trade winds, and when the winds subside, you motor against them, and then when it gets, the trade winds really start blowing around, later on in the morning or afternoon, 10 or 11, Rick and I were seeing 30, 35 knots of wind, and seas that were substantial enough so that it just wasn't as fun bashing into them as it could be. So our strategy was to leave at like 4 in the morning and get as far as we had to be before 10 or 11 in the morning, and then get anchored up and let the winds come by and start the next day. And today, since we're going to have the wind basically behind us, it's not as critical, but at the same time, we're having fun. And, when the winds really start blowing here, it isn't quite as fun. So we want to leave in the morning and get tied up by, before lunchtime. So that's the hope. And the reason why today it's a little later, it's a little bit after 5, is that in Salinas Harbor, it's so congested. There's a whole bunch of anchored boats here. And there are a lot of what I'd call derelict boats. I think they're people that are just living on them, or people that have bought, perhaps I'm only assuming here, but maybe people that acquired boats during the hurricane for a very good price, and then anchored them up here with the idea that one day they'd fix them, and they've sat ever since. So what I'm getting at is that when we get out of the harbor here, We're going to have to make our way through a fleet of boats, and a lot of them aren't lit, with anchor lights or anything like that. So it might be better to do that when the sun starts to come up. So that's my plan. But now, while the coffee's starting to be made, I have to go and start putting everything away. Yesterday, Rick and I had a big day of doing maintenance. When we got into Salinas, we did all kinds of jobs. I'll tell you about them later, but a lot of things on my to-do list got done yesterday, so I'm feeling very proud about that. But now we've got to put everything away and get it all stowed, so when the boat keels over, all of our tools and stuff won't go tumbling around. So that's the idea. Things are getting to be more and more ship-shape, ready to go. So the next thing to do is to do a little engine room check and fluids check. Looks like we've got plenty of coolant. Fuel filters look good. Clean off my dipstick and take a look at that. And we're good. Make sure there's no fluids or anything dripping underneath the engine. Everything else looks pretty clean. I don't know if I think I gave you a bad view of things. But anyway, that's that. So the next thing I'll do is come over here and start turning everything on that needs to come on. So turn the radio on. We're going to shut the anchor light off. We're going to put the running light on. And for this first part, we're going to have the steaming light on, or bow light. Put the instruments on: AIS, autopilot, radar, plotter, VHF. And that should do it. I'll go outside and fire things up. Let them start to come up to temperature as I get the boat ready. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just starting to get light out here now. I can see the light from the chart plotter is on. I just turned everything on, so now later. Okay, so that's there. Come over here. And then we check, make sure that we're pushing water out. Here comes some more water. There we go. All right, I'm gonna go and because it was so sunny and hot and we were working, I had put the sun covers up on the windows here. So I don't know if you can see any of this. The sun's coming up. It'll be a beautiful day, I think. So, like I say, I'm not sure if any of this video is going to come out for you, but we'll give it a try. You hear a hum. It's the high output alternator putting so much into the batteries, and they're right next to the amplifier for the stereo, so you hear a little bit of alternator noise in the stereo, but that's all right. All right, so we're getting things more and more ready to go. And one of the things I always got to remember to do, I don't think it's so important going downwind as it has been upwind, but I always got to remember to put the hatches, shut the hatches. It's been so nasty the last couple of days that we were taking quite a bit of seas over
over the bow. But that should be good for now. Hopefully we won't be doing that because we'll be going downwind. But right now, the task at hand is to raise the anchor. And the anchor right now is being held by what we call the snubber. So now we go and get ready to haul in. Okay, so now I'm going to put the camera down. And take the snubber in. For anyone that's wondering, we have just shy of 300 feet of chain and a nice 55-pound rock nut anchor. And this boat is my first time using the new style of plow anchor, meaning I think that rock nut had dominated the market for a long time, and now it appears that they have some stiff competition, if not being taken over by taken over in the sense that there are more sales going to what's the name of that other company? But they look just like rock nut anchors. Oh, maybe I need some more coffee to think of this. Mantis, that's it. Mantis anchors. Do the next one. So, now we're going to keep bringing this in. And, unlike on the tugboat where we just do everything on the windlass and pull it in, I have, there's no wind right now and no tide yet. So to preserve the brushes on the windlass, when I get a strain on it, I just wait until the boat starts moving ahead and give it time, and there you go. You can see that it goes up like that, and then I'll start pulling the boat that way. And just like on the tugboat, momentum is everything, so if I can keep this thing moving, it doesn't really put too much pressure on the windlass itself because the boat is slowly moving towards that way anyway. Just keep giving it a little nudge. Now it's going straight up and down, so I think I'm really stuck in the mud here. And here it comes. Seems like it just broke free. And it's probably going to be covered in mud, which it is. The whole anchor is very encased in mud, so I'm going to leave the anchor just like that, maybe even a little bit lower. There we go. I'm going to leave it like that while we drive ahead and go nice and slowly through the anchorage here, and by the time I come back, it should be all cleaned up. Alright, so we've got some real good play on the thing. I think it's going to require me hosing it off. I have a saltwater washdown hose that we have set up aft right now so we can clean fish. Trying to shake some of this off. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that worked. Look at that. What a lucky break. Alright, so now it just looks like we just have the weed on there. That won't smell nearly as bad. All right. Don't know if you saw that manatee or not. Okay, so it's a little bit after 6. The sun still hasn't come up yet, but everything's looking nice. Here's some derelict boats. And catamaran just came in. Ricky's up. And now we're off. Everybody seems to have anchored in what I would have thought was the channel, but what do I know? Maybe they're anchoring where the water's good. Just saw a manatee. I don't know if it came out on film or not, but it was just coming by the bow, and Ricky and I were joking because I put the engine in neutral, and we were only doing about 2 knots anyway, and watched it kind of go by us, and Ricky and I were joking because the way the propeller is protected by the by the full keel here. It'd be one stupid manatee if we ever were able to hit it going 2 knots with a protected thing. Here's some guy over here. Morning! Hey, we've seen that before. Yeah, I think they were over in, yeah. Hey, you were over Puerto Real, right? Yeah, that's right. I've seen your boat before. To
the right, to the right.
To the right? Why? No, I'm trying to hug the channel. Oh. So I'm going close to them. Right, exactly. No, I think you're probably exactly right. And you think about it too, anchoring out here, yeah. You don't have to go through the fleet other than just a few boats to get out to the clearer water, you know? Morning! Good to see you. That's about it. 6:30 now. Let's get this thing up on plane. Not a breath of air. As you can see, the flag isn't moving, but that's okay because we're still in the protected water of the reef here, and it won't always be that nice. It's gonna get kind of yucky after a while, so we'll take what we can get. Before the wind starts blowing, still calm, time to make some breakfast. Rick is manning the wheel, and I'm going to start some breakfast. Goes on top of the stove here, and it always falls down. It scares me half to death. outside of the protective reef. And although there isn't any wind, we still have a lot of that Caribbean swell left over. So that's why we're rolling down. Once we get a little bit of wind, that hopefully will stiffen us up a little bit, but being that it's from behind, it won't stiffen us up quite as much as it would be if we were deep. But we'll get it. Alright. Almost coming along. On this gas grill, because we have propane on the boat, because propane is heavier than air, you have to have this a propane gas solenoid, and the gas bottles are actually out in their own locker that's vented outside, so if there was a leak, the propane being heavier than air would displace the air and fall away from the boat, and outside it would be a problem. But if you had a gas line, if you had a leak in the gas line inside the boat, the propane would go and accumulate in the bilge or build up until you had a source of ignition and the boat would blow up. So because of that, we have a gas solenoid out there that when you're cooking, you turn it on and it energizes the line with gas, and then when you get done, I just flip it off. And then that way, even if there was a leak, it wouldn't do anything. So that's kind of a good thing for us. And we also obviously have a multi-gas sniffer on board as well. So, I think our helmet is done. I'm going to cut it in half. Half for Ricky and half for me. That doesn't stop Ricky's heart, I don't know what will. Look at that, huh? Okay, so we've put out the head sail. We're gonna pole it out, and we still may do that. But right now, I think that the wind is gonna pick up. And if it blows 25 or 30, I don't know that I really want the pole out there. So we're just going on the Jenny right now. We've taken the engine, putting the engine in neutral. And what do we got, Rick? 5 knots of speed?
Yep, 5 to 4.5.
4.5 to 5. I think we can live with that. That almost seems like cocktail drinking speed. So, our favorite time. Oh, listen to that. Isn't that nice? So we're off cruising now. I can set up a preventer and put the mainsail out. I'm looking at the wind, and the wind actually, I'm worried about the mainsail stealing wind from the jib, but looking at the angle up there, I think we might be able to get away with it. Oh, it's starting to collapse already. Maybe we'll have to pull this out. Like I say, I do think the wind picks up every afternoon, and if I put that pole out there, it's just going to be that much harder to, I mean, you could take it in, but remember, Rick and I are not professionals. We're recreational men of leisure, right?
Men of leisure.
Yes, yes. Oh, the God forbidden yachty. I know, we keep rolling around like this, we're going to collapse that head sail. So I think maybe that's what I'll do, is I'll set up the preventer. How we doing now, Ricky? See there? Nice. Not stealing. Oh, goodness gracious, my fly is down. Can't have that on camera. So those that are not familiar with this is something that I've been learning. The luffing sails, when like this, aren't so much that the wind is changing, it's that as the boat comes off a wave and rolls one way or the other, it actually will roll the other way faster than the wind is going. So that's what gives it pressure on the opposite side of the sail and makes the sails flap, and they don't really like that. So we're gonna see how long this will last before we get the wind that I think is going to be coming. Like I say, I don't want to get too involved because I know it's going to get windy later on. So we'll see what happens. Okay, it's 10:30 and things are happening well. Now we've gone on a different tack, so we don't have to be downwind, directly downwind. We were headed a little, that'd be northwest, and we got closer to the shore, and we were kind of flapping back and forth, and anyway, the wind has picked up. We turned more southwest, just barely, almost due west. Yeah, actually that's not even right. It's 281 magnetic. So yeah, so that's 270 would be west. So I guess we're still going in the right direction towards our goal. We've gone from about 3 knots up to 6 knots. We're not pulled out, but you can see the sails are on the other side of the. Well, you can see the head sail there, but we've got everything over on the other side now, and we could probably trim and get a little faster, but we're doing 5.5, what is 5.4, 5.8, going around, hit 6 knots every once in a while. We only have 18 knots to go, 18 nautical miles to go, so put us to where we want to be at around 2 and 2:30 in the afternoon. So I'm real happy. We've got the autopilot on wind hold. And for those of you that have been following, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, I definitely mentioned that I had autopilot problems and I was really wigged out because we have half of the autopilot is Raymarine and the other, the brain and the electronics are Garmin, and they weren't playing nice together, and the Raymarine people wouldn't help me and the Garmin people wouldn't help me. Well, oddly enough, we've got everything working and it's working really well. We still have an alignment issue with the chart. I'm not really sure about that because we're getting heading sensor information from the GPS, the external GPS, from I believe the Garmin Core Pack, I think they call it, has a heading sensor in it. And then I have an external Garmin 9-axis heading sensor that, so the problem is they're not all communicating well. And to give you an example, this right here says we want to be going 280, 282. And we're doing like 250, 262, going back and forth to hold a good wind angle so as the wind changes, the boat's changing. But anyway, as you can see, that's really close to our magnetic compass. So I'm really happy. We're within 5 degrees of the magnetic compass. That's doing really well. But if you come over here to this, what says heading, and I don't think that's coming from the heading sensor. And the reason why I say that is I could disconnect the heading sensor and this doesn't go away. But this says 230, 233. And then if you look over at the autopilot over here, it says 100, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it says, oh, actually, you know what? The autopilot is now on a different thing because I've got the wind angle. It is saying wind angle of 123, so it's holding that. But this, when I had it on holding angle, this was showing one heading, this was showing another heading, and this was showing a third heading. So I've got to work that all out. But right now, having a reliable autopilot is much more important to me than having my cursor on the chart plotter being off 35, 40, 50 degrees. I can calculate that. I can make that work. So that's not that big a deal for me. Oh, now we're doing 6.65, 6.3, 6.4. So gust of wind comes. We got 14, 13, 2 of apparent. So I think we're doing pretty good. I'm pretty happy. How you feeling, Ricky?
Feeling good.
Rick
Gentleman
is
sailing.
yes, this is more gentleman. I told you guys that as soon as I got down here, Ricky and I were going to make all this content for you. Well, we got off and we wanted to go see, to tell you how the story worked. This will probably be a good time to tell you. If you remember when we came down in the series of 1,500 miles to Puerto Rico, and Ricky and Runa and Ian, we all came down together. Well, anyway, Ian and his family has chartered a boat on the east, in the Spanish Virgins, which is at the east end of Puerto Rico. And Rick and I were trying to get out to rendezvous with them. That would have been really fun. We were really hoping to do that. And the beat that way is something that everyone does. You could do it. It's very hard to do on a schedule. You got to wait for your weather. You got to wait for your days, and you also got to go like at night and motor into it in the morning, and then tie up before the morning gets too late, and then do it all again the next day. Anyway, we got more than 3/4 of the way there, and Ricky has to get back. He has an appointment he has to get to, and I'm running out of time before I have to do my new assignment here in Puerto Rico for my job. So we turned around and we're making our way west again, which means we are not beating into the trades anymore. We're using the trade. We're sailing in the trades the way you should sail, and that's downwind, and it is wonderful. It's beautiful out here. The sun is shining. The beer is cold. I mean, the liquid is cold. Rick hasn't done so well catching fish. I think we're gonna have Chrysalida show him a few tricks. She was really good catching the fish there, but I don't know. Maybe he'll catch something a little later on. But we're really enjoying, as Rick says, the gentlemen are leisurely sailing, men of leisure. That's what we are. Anyway, this is why I bought a sailboat. Not that beating into seas all the time.
There's one out there coming the opposite way.
Uh-oh. Rick says there's a sailboat coming the other way, and look, he doesn't have any sails up. So he's doing what we did for the last 3 days. So as much as we're loving it, he's probably hating it. Anyway, so that's it. 17.8 miles to go. Still looking at 2:19 to get there. So looking pretty good. Looking pretty happy. Fill you in on the rest. Okay, so we've had some developments. So we're coming by, if I'm pronouncing this right, Guaianilla? I think that's right. Anyway, I see the tug that I'm supposed to go to work on next week. And I figured, you know what, we're having a good day. The wind's blowing. It's going to have a good day tomorrow. So this is a good place for us to stop and check out where they're anchored up, and take a couple pictures of the boat that I'll be on so you guys can see that, and call it a day. We had a wonderful gentleman's day sailing. I don't know how gentle this gentleman is. How about you?
Gentle?
It's a lamb. Anyway, we're surfing down the waves as we're going in now. We're kind of more northwest, and the seas are just rolling right in behind us. We had one break right into the cockpit. See, there's still some water here. Wasn't any big deal. It was just interesting because it seems like all we do is beat to weather. We don't usually have the following seas really rolling into us. So that was fun. Anyway, that's it. We get up there, we'll get anchored up, and we'll report to you then. We made it into Guaianilla Bay and saw my future work home. That's where I am right presently now in time. Anyway, we anchored up in the bay, had a wonderful night, and the next morning before the sun came up, Ricky and I were off again and ended up in Rincon later on. I really hope you like this video, and maybe you guys will think about subscribing. That always helps out the channel. Anyway, hopefully next week you'll see me single-handing back from Rincon. Take care.